Milton Mo Junction. As you can see, I'm in a bit of a sort of movement at the moment, a bit of a redesign at this end. I've finally decided to get going on this end, and side rather should I say, and started redesigning it a little bit, not too much, but just mainly at this end. Before I tell you what I'm doing, I'll just sort of reiterate my main sort of idea of this layout is to have it as a diesel depot, mainly because I just like running the diesels and the sound of the diesels. All my diesels have sound, and I just like playing with the diesels, and as a result the main layout is really the diesel depot. If I want any sort of shunting or major shunting, I can play on this side with the coal wagons and a few of the other sidings here to move goods in and out into the sidings. But as I say, this side is mainly going to be the diesel depot, and as such, bearing that in mind, I actually don't need a lot of couplings and uncouplings of wagons. So I've decided that I want to keep the 3-link couplings because I think in O gauge they look the best, and especially on the diesels I don't want large couplings, which is what I pretty much need if I'm going to make it automatic uncoupling. So I can't have that, it's going to be by hand. And if anyone's actually tried to uncouple and couple 3-link couplings by hand, it's a little bit of a palaver, and the last thing you want is to be stretching across and trying to uncouple wagons on the far track. And in fact I had a little sort of playing session and found that it's virtually impossible, because I've got such a stretch over there with my table here, or control panels. You sort of really have to stretch because you can't get close to the edge of the boards, and I thought it's totally impractical, as is in some ways building it, because having to stretch over there and put a platform in and buildings etc., which is the original idea, isn't going to work very easily, or it's going to be difficult. So what I've done is I've moved the track over very slightly, so I've put it back against the backboard a lot more than it was, so there's no room for a platform now. Anyway, having done that, it also makes it a lot easier for me to do the scenery, because I can pretty much do what I did on the other side. It's just a bit of grass, greenery on the edges until we get to the other end, of course, but we'll come to that in a minute. So what I've decided to do is really concentrate on this side as a diesel depot. I've put this engine shed or diesel shed there temporarily, it's just sitting. What I'll probably have in that area is, at the moment I'm thinking about a cleaning depot, and where the wagons are, the goods wagons, I'm thinking of having a couple of oil tanks there where there can be deliveries for the oil tank, oil for the depot, which feeds the two oil fueling, diesel fueling area. It's up there, which will come again in a minute. I can reach here quite easily to uncouple goods wagons or tankers etc., so that's not going to be a problem. Coming up to this end, what I don't think I'm going to use that Backscene at all. It's just a spare bit I had just to make a show, just to see what it looks like. And I've swung the furthest track out in a less tighter curve, but I still need that disappearing. It's not going to be a major point, it's just going to be a through track, and I want it disappearing through the Backscene, but I don't particularly want to make a point of it, and the way it is I can't really hide it with a bridge or anything. I've got to pretty much do something similar I did on the other side, which is disguise it by putting something in front so you can't actually see it. So for those purposes, I mean, here obviously where are we here, will be the engine shed that I've already built. So I need some sort of building in this area here so that it hides the trains going past. I mean, it's not going to be a major thing going past, it's just but I don't want it disappearing through a hole in the back scene, or at least I don't want you to be able to see that. So my current thoughts are to have some sort of platform where the tape measure is at the moment, just along in between there, just so you can use that track just over the top of the tape measure, so that can be used as a delivery track for goods coming into the depot to be used for spares, engines, etc. So they want somewhere to unload it. Parcels can come in there, so I can have some sort of deliveries in the goods wagons there, and I can reach that to uncouple, so that's not too bad. I also need some building, store or something here. I haven't decided what to do with those tracks yet. I mean, I will shorten at least one of them to be able to build some sort of building there, which hopefully will then hide where the track disappears into the back scene. I can put a freestanding building back there as well, and that will cover it up, but first thing I'll probably do is put a back scene up. I've ordered a continuous back scene from the one that's already there. It's ID back scenes, and they're self-adhesive ones. I bought a set of 4, which means it goes all the way around the room and stops at the other side here. I've pretty much used it all. There is a couple of foot, or a foot or so left on the end of that, but that picture on there, actually the end of D joins up to the beginning of A, which is over there. So I mean, if I'd known I was going to do this, I'd have put the back scene along to the end, but here we go. Anyway, if I ordered a new back scene, so that will match up to there. Unfortunately, I don't think it'll be a perfect match because I haven't gone quite to the edge of the board there, because that was at one point going to be hidden, so behind a back scene coming across. But I've got to find some way of disguising it, probably not with a building like that, because I think that might look a bit silly. Edge on anyway. So I've got to find a way of disguising that to some extent, and I've got to make a decision of how to curve it round. I've got the foam board to do it, but I've got to decide whether to do a right angle there, a small curve, right angle perhaps with a small curve in it, or a full curve. I'm going more for a right angle with a short sort of soft curve at the corner rather than a straight. I mean, just there I can disguise it if I need to with a big tree or something, but it's all in flux. Oh, the other thing I've done, I want most of this here as like a concrete hard standing, so that it goes right down to the 2 fuel pumps, both on the rails and either side the rails. Now, I could have done it with plaster of Paris like I did the car park at the other end. I was really pleased with that, but it is a messy process, and where the track is concerned it's going to make a right mess of that, so I thought I'm going to cheat a little bit and do it with foam board. There is an advantage of using foam board as well, because the track will be parallel. If I get the foam board cut in the right size, I can use that as a guide to put the track up against it. So basically what I've done, for each gap I've ordered 2 different bits of foam board cut to measure. One holds the sleepers exactly as this, a 3mm, which is pretty much the height of the sleepers. That can be glued in between them up against the sleepers in position that one is, and then another bit can be glued on top, over the top of the sleepers and up to the rails, because you can cut out a little corner edge from these bits, and then that gets rid of the grips for the track, and puts the foam board up completely up against the rail. And then I've got some bits coming that go in between the track, pretty much like that. That can all be painted to make it look like concrete, and we'll see how we get on with that. But yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for that to appear, and I'm waiting for the Backscene to appear before I can do too much more. But I'm just in the design stage of trying to put buildings where I can to cover up the Backscene. It will look as if it's a countryside area, but quite a rural area, but it's quite a distant Backscene, so it can be in the distance, and buildings, industrial type buildings in front may not be a problem, but I need to put the board up and see what it looks like first. But I'll come back and do a bit more work and show you later. So bye for now. Okay, well, as you can see, the foam board has arrived. I've laid some of it in place just to give you an idea. It does look a bit stark at the moment, but of course it's all white rather than painted concrete. There's some decisions to be made before I actually lay it. For instance, I've got to decide whether to have this on top or to cut the shape of it into the boards so that this is then flush rather than raised. That may well depend on the clearance for the engines, my biggest engine. As you can see, again, I've done it without any service pits in the engine depot, diesel depot, but that depends. I mean, I think at the moment it's a bit too difficult to cut my way through to make service pits, so I may end up, certainly in the initial stage, just a concrete run-in like that. It won't be quite so obvious because obviously won't be so stark, and there'll be things in the way anyway, so we'll see. The other thing is, on the furthest one over here, I've got to make a decision whether to have that as a platform. I'm thinking about a sort of small platform, so I might not need anything there, and perhaps not the one in the rail, and how far to go back, etc. I'll just show you how I've done this. Well, I was talking about it earlier. I've got the foam board cut to shape or size here, which is fantastic for setting the rail perfectly straight, because that's up against the sleepers, and it's pretty much the same height as the sleepers. Then the second bit goes over like that. Obviously at the moment it's a little teeny fraction raised, so what I'm going to do is chamfer the corners or the edges, or cut a little rectangle slightly below, not on the above, and then it will be flush with the track. And these ones of course have got to be set exactly right. So there's quite a bit of work still to do and a few decisions to be made. The Backscene hasn't arrived yet, the new Backscene, so I haven't been able to do anything on that yet, and I'm just thinking this is going to be a long video, so what I might do is make this part one of this little session and add on bits later, so I'll leave it at that at the moment. So bye for now, thanks for watching, and subscribe or comment if you wish. Bye.